Thank you so much.
I don't think the mic itself is working.
Check, I got it. Yeah, there we go.
Now we got it.
Sound check. Well, good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
It's a great day in San Antonio. We're very glad that you're here to join us as we kick off the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce 125th anniversary. My name is Adam Hamilton. I have the pleasure and the honor of serving as the chair for the remainder of 2019 and for all of 2020. It is indeed an honor because this organization has a very rich history of making contributions of great significance to our community. So as we kick off the celebration of our 125th year, I think it's important to remember and to reflect upon a few of the Chamber's accomplishments. We're honored to have some of our former chairs with us this morning to help us recall and celebrate the Chamber's successes. These fantastic business leaders have all given their time and talent, developed priorities to better our community, and served at the helm of the San Antonio Chamber. And I'd like to thank them for all of their efforts. At this time, I'd like to welcome someone who has dedicated his life to public service. Not only has he served as county judge, mayor, state representative, state senator, and other positions, but he has also served as the 1998 chair of the chamber. Please welcome Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolf.
Well, thank you, Adam, and thanks for leading the chamber in this part of this year and this coming year also. 125 years, what a great tradition. I know there's something like 4,000 chambers across the United States, but there are very few of them that really have the leadership capacity that the Greater Chamber has shown over many, many years to many turning points in San Antonio. Going back to the World's Fair we had here in 1968, the tremendous leadership that they had there in casting that World's Fair and really leading us to a whole new economic development with respect to the tourism industry. They've stepped forward every time that we've brought a new company into San Antonio, supporting our initiatives to give tax incentives and to incorporate the life of the people that are coming here. I remember very clearly when I was mayor, we brought Southwestern Bell, then later known as AT&T here. The chamber led the effort to go up to St. Louis at that time and bring all the people that had the opportunity to move here and show them San Antonio. Some out of the 500 executives, 400 of them moved here, principally because the chamber made them feel comfortable. They're a great leader with respect to military affairs. We would not be the community we are without the consistent leadership that the chamber has shown with respect to preserving our military bases here, enhancing our military bases here, helping us in the transition in some of them. I don't care what happens in San Antonio. If it's something good, the chamber is there to make it happen. And we're so fortunate to have them here, to have great business leaders that we have here. Wish we had a little bit more influence of elected officials that were business guys. That would be helpful also. But I can't thank the chamber enough for the great leadership. I was mayor when Mike Allen came in, I think it's 94, Mike was telling me, 94, and I still remember going to his address when he was speaking of the chamber. And if I remember correctly, one of the things he talked about, we need to reach out and help people that are having some problems here, whether they're in low income, education, etc. So please welcome Mike Allen up to the people.
Thank you, Nelson. As Nelson mentioned, I was honored to serve as chairman during the 100th year of the chamber and also the year that Nelson was mayor. And one of the things I remember is that a big issue at that time was crime. And Reverend Ann Helmke came to me and wanted to have a crime summit a gang summit, and I went to Nelson. He said, "That's the craziest damn idea I ever heard." But you know, we kept talking about it, and one of the great things about Nelson, he's always been somebody that would listen and think things over, and he came back and said, "You know, that's not a bad idea. Let's try that." So Nelson, thank you for being open-minded about that as well as so many other things. You know, when you're chairman of the chamber, you have a year, and then they kind of get rid of you at the end of the year. Long live the king is dead. And so what I most remember about my chamber time is actually the year after I was chairman of the chamber, because in January of 1995, I was at my first board meeting as immediate past chair, and Jack Willamy walked up to me and said, "Hey, there's this thing going on in Austin with water, and we think maybe we could get you appointed as a businessman on the Edwards Aquifer Authority." And like an idiot, I said, "Yes, I'll do anything for a year." Well, 9 years later, I resigned and said, "I've had enough of this fun." Anyway, each year the chairman and the chamber board and everything work together on a set of priorities, and sometimes we do things that organizations that start out with us, and we birth them and we nurture them, and then they become big enough and strong enough to be on their own. And some of those that we've done have made a big influence in San Antonio. We started out in 1911 with the Fiesta Association, which became the San Antonio Fiesta Commission, which is in charge of all of Fiesta. In 46, we started the Medical Foundation, which, as you all know, runs the whole medical center, is in charge of all that property out there, does a fabulous job to this day. In 1958, the Paso del Rio project, which became in charge of the Riverwalk. In 74, we started the San Antonio Economic Development Foundation, which continues to be a major generator for new jobs in our city. 1988 was a big year for sports, and we started San Antonio Sports, which eventually spun off as its own organization. In 2002, the Chamber served as a partner in creating the San Antonio Mobility Coalition, regional-based transportation initiatives and strategy. 2005, we launched Biomed SA, which has become a really major player in what has become our largest industry. Clearly, through all of these, the Chamber has played a major role in moving San Antonio forward. It's now my pleasure to introduce the 2011 chairman of the Chamber, who also served on my board when he was still about 12 years old, Sam Dawson.
Well, thank you, Mike. So in addition to some of the things that we've already heard from Mike, we've heard from Judge Wolf and Adam Hamilton, let me just spend a minute talking about the enormous impact that the Chamber has had on military development, transportation, water resources, the sports industry, international trade, and the list goes on and on. And so what an honor it is for me to come here and just share this small picture in what's been a grand and great 125-year history. So let's start with the military. Long before San Antonio was coined Military City USA, the Chamber was actually already building connections between the business community and the local military organizations supporting military missions. The one thing that I did find as chairman of the Chamber, the one constant, the singular foundation of maintaining that moniker Military City USA was in the hands of the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. With the turnovers of elected officials, with the lack of consistency throughout the city at the time, it was the Chamber of Commerce that maintained that Military City USA phrase. So it was back in the 1920s that the Chamber led the efforts to locate Kelly Air Force Base and Brooks Air Force Base in San Antonio, and then developed and carried out a plan to purchase the land Randolph Air Force Base, which is now Joint Base San Antonio, Randolph. In 1988, it was the Chamber of Commerce that helped secure funding for the new 450-bed Brooke Army Medical Center Hospital, which today has grown into the San Antonio Military Medical Center, also known as Joint Base San Antonio, Fort Sam Houston. In addition to all the spin-off organizations that Mike talked about, the Chamber has also had a tremendous hand in projects that have helped shape the flavor and the makeup of who modern San Antonio is today. It was in 1950 that the Chamber's Farm and Ranch Committee directed the development of the San Antonio Livestock Exposition, which is now clearly part of the San Antonio Rodeo. In 1958, the Chamber Committee was formed to investigate the feasibility of an international hemisphere in San Antonio, and we all know what that turned into, Hemisphere 1968. And it was in 1969 the Chamber funded a feasibility study for the Hemisphere Plaza, which has now become multiple acres of green parkland right in the center of the heart of downtown San Antonio. Clearly something near and dear to my heart is San Antonio's transportation system and the impact that has on economic development and quality of life. And the Chamber has played a significant role in our city's infrastructure and in our transportation history. It was in 1948 the Chamber's Highway Committee developed a mass highway plan for metropolitan San Antonio and Bexar County. They presented the plan to the Texas Highway Commission, and even today that is the basis for San Antonio's local highway system. And it was in 1984 that the Chamber helped secure approval and funding for State Highway 151 to provide access to growth on the north and west sectors of San Antonio for an area what we know well now is the Westover Hills of San Antonio. Water supply, the reason that San Antonio has a 50-year supply of water is the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. So let's talk about some of the more recent Chamber accomplishments and successes. Clearly over the past few years, the Chamber has taken a leadership role in discussions on the modernization of the North American Free Trade Agreement, including testifying before Congress, traveling to Canada, traveling to Mexico to promote the benefits of the agreement. Just last year, the Chamber successfully defeated the City of San Antonio's efforts to include a labor peace agreement requirement within the request for proposals for a food, beverage, and retail prime concessionaire's contract at the San Antonio International Airport. And then finally, the Chamber launched Project Ability. It's to connect business, government agencies, nonprofit, and education communities together to discuss ways to engage individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities into local employment opportunities. As you can see, the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce has truly shaped the city of San Antonio. So with that, to wrap things up, it's my pleasure to call upon the Chamber's President and CEO, Richard Perez.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you to all of our speakers. You know, being able to sit here and listen to all the things that this organization has been responsible for is really humbling. And it reminds me of how fortunate I am to be at the helm of this wonderful organization that's populated by a staff that's second to none, that is so focused on those things that you've talked about and those things yet to come that involve education and workforce development and economic development and the military. All those things are what makes San Antonio special. But the constant, as you all have said very well, is this organization and the leadership that's been provided by the business community to populate this organization to make things happen. So you all bring knowledge, experience, expertise that has allowed this organization to do the things that it's done. So on behalf of all of our membership, I'd like to thank you all as chair and former chairs. Your leadership has been priceless and has allowed all those things to happen. So thank you. Let's give them a round of applause for their wonderful leadership. And with that, we are going to show our 125-year logo. First time ever in the history of the world, is that right? There it is. Yay! Thank you all for joining us. We will celebrate in a very grand fashion on December the 5th at our annual gala. Invite everyone to please join us. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we stand adjourned. Thank you all so much.